a land economy-driven local economic contribution is going to change. So, and in coupled with the economic downturn, so what we're seeing is there is a limited of demand. A lot of multinationals are rethinking their strategy in China. Supply is still on pipeline, but they are slowing down, obviously. So it looks like the future of China will not growing as much real estate square meter as before, as many square meter as before. And because there is an obvious limited demand in all sorts of space, be it home buyings, office, warehouses, and factories. Hotel is still strong, rental apartment is still strong because the normal population is changing the way of rethinking whether every single family or household will need an apartment to buy an apartment. So they're thinking, oh, maybe in the long strategy, we should all rent and spend more money in spending. So what we're seeing is a structural change plus an economic downturn where you see rents in all sorts of sectors dropping, like a good 10 to 30%. Cap rate obviously will be inflated given the also the US interest rate is high. A lot of multinational in the investment side is rethinking their strategy. They're probably putting a lot of things on hold for the time being. And then you have limited domestic buyers. So all coupled together, I think the whole market is on a very slow wait and see mode, given a lot of value asset prices have dropped down probably 20-30% with very limited transaction in the market. So what we're expecting, we're coming out of the cycle slowly and step by step. We're seeing situation better than last year, but we expect another couple more years until we can go out on the cycle
trend. Truly appreciate that overview. And so that is the current situation, the trend in China. Let's now go over to Mr. Hung. Now, you're here representing, or you're here from Vietnam. If you could share with us, what's the market trend like in Vietnam? I understand that things have changed a lot over these past 2 years. If you could expand on that, please.
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here to share with you some information about Vietnam real estate market. So, same as global world, so our real estate market also experienced a lot of difficulties and challenges over the past 2 years. When the price dropped like significantly, and especially the liquidity going down hugely. So the liquidity was really the problem of Vietnam's real estate market. Because even the price going down, there's almost no transaction for a certain period of time. But in 2024, the market has recovered very strongly, especially in the segment for the real demand. So in Vietnam, the underlying fundamental is 100 million population. That means after 2 years with limited supply and the demands growing fast, especially with the urbanization in big cities. So people are waiting to buy for the real demands. So for the past 6 months, for example, in Hanoi, the price of apartments in the city areas increased on average 30%. So which is very high and very abnormal. So the recovery is very strong, but only for the real demand sector. For the investment side, like for example in smaller cities or in the locations where people don't yet have demand for real living. So the momentum is still quite weak. So we don't yet see a lot of like price increase or the liquidity improvement. Although our interest rate has dropped about half. So last year, like deposit rate in Vietnam is around like 8 to 10%, now it's about 4 to 5%, even lower than the USD. So that's very abnormal for the case of Vietnam. But the investment has not gained significantly. So we believe it's going to take a little bit time when the confidence of the market gets better. So it depends on the global market, also our local confidence of the buyers. So most of the people think next year will be a big year for the real estate market in Vietnam for the remaining areas. And my company, we focus more on the market for real demand. So the business still stable, and we are moving towards what we are doing.
Okay, so that's the market trends and overview. China, we've covered Vietnam. Let's now go over to you, Seth,
Yes.
from Myanmar.
Thanks, Khun Bachar. So for Myanmar, we're dealing with a lot of price volatility. I was just talking to Olivier earlier today, and he owns an interior design company, right? So he actually bought solid gold for his company in their balance sheet just to hedge against it. And also, just to give you a little bit of context, Myanmar, we just opened our country a decade ago, and then things were looking pretty well until 2021. There's a big shift regarding our political climate change, and the economy was very affected by it. Also, now I think the hotel market, we used to have around 480 something hotels throughout the city, but now it's only close to 200. And when it comes to office, I mean, due to this economy, I think there's been a lot of retrenchment in service offices and co-working space. They're very trendy right now. And also for residential, I would say that the affordable housing segment is really making bank. I was just looking at CNBC yesterday, and one of our top real estate developers, they had a record sales for this year. And capital markets, I would say, is non-existent. I think LVMH recently sold their Belmont brand in Myanmar, and Capital sold Sedona hotels. And yeah, but retail market is doing really well. If you go to shopping centers, I think the foot traffic is there, and the occupancy will be like above 90%, I would say. And the retail mix would be mostly F&B, the restaurants, and mostly fashion shops. So even though, you know, I mean, people are sad and depressed in the country, at least they're making a fashion statement out of it, I don't know.
Okay, so lots of interesting information shared by all three speakers. Now, many of us, if not all of us, work with local clients, yeah, with the local market, but we're also penetrated into the regional, the global market. Jenny, leading RE, now you have a presence in over 70 different countries. Now, as an organization, how do you engage with your member firms?
Thank you for the question, and also for accommodating me during this section. When we discussed prior what kind of topics we would discuss, and the first question was going to be about the trends in your local market, I said we work with 70 different markets. The stage will be mine all day if I talk about them, so thank you for accommodating a little. But to answer your question, I think first of all I should probably give a little bit of a light introduction to what and who leading real estate companies of the world are. And we will call it from now on Leading RE, because otherwise it again will extend this into a much longer period. So we've been established for over 61 years. We were founded in Chicago in 1963. We're a global membership organization and real estate network, and the home to the independent brokerages. So we currently have around 550 member firms in over 70 different countries, which roughly translates into about 4,900 offices and about 138,000 sales associates. So we have a great presence throughout the world in every region, and the types of companies that we partner with are well-established local experts with a global outlook. They've built a brand that they're proud of and have the in-depth knowledge of their local market, but they understand that to offer a comprehensive and all-inclusive service to their clients, they need to collaborate with a global brand and other firms around the world. So that's kind of where we come in and provide them with the tools, the connections, and the opportunities to connect with other firms around the world that they know and trust and share business. So how do we do that? How do we engage with our member firms to be able to support them in their local market and their global connections? We do that through a number of ways. We bring our members together 3 times per year minimum around the world. So we have an annual conference in Las Vegas, we have a global symposium in Europe and the Middle East, and we also hold a more smaller local event here in Asia to bring our Asian members together. We have online and in-person gatherings as often as possible. So we host webinars. We have an educational institute, which is a platform in-house for our members that they can learn more about how to be focused globally, how to share referrals outbound. And first and foremost, as a company, we are a referral network. So last year alone, we shared over 19,000 referrals from member to member with around a 70% success closing rate. So in order to share referrals, however, the members need to know each other and trust each other, and that's what we need to concentrate on ensuring that they can do. We also engage with our members through the use of branding as well. So a member can leverage the use of co-branding with leading real estate companies of the world as much as they see to be relevant. But we provide them with PR materials, social media templates, we provide them with logos. They have apps where they can provide marketing materials. And last but not least, it would be impossible to apply a one-size-fits-all approach with our members. So we do have a consultation service that we provide to each and every member around the world. We have account managers in every region who will directly consult with each member to see what their goals are as a business and how we can help them to expand globally and build further connections within the network to give them more opportunities to share business.
Great stuff, thank you there. Now, coming back to you, Tammy, Colliers China also has a very global reach. Now, you and your team have worked on over 100 overseas projects. Can you please tell us about the dynamics of that? How does that all work?
Right, so Colliers is a company, we operate in 66 countries, right? So the way we're globalizing our clients, because there's all this demand of Chinese company globalizing their business. So two very obvious reasons. One is that there's limited demand within China, and these companies can survive, and they have good products, good strategy, good services, and low cost of capital. They see themselves globalizing. So, from the very famous Huawei to the BYD to you name it, right? Alibaba, all these things. So it's an obvious trend. The second part is the geopolitical situation in China, trade tariffs and all this. So export from China is being restricted in many countries. So they need another manufacturing plants outside of China to continue their global business. So within these two very obvious trends, starting 4 or 5 years ago, we start helping our clients to land their footprint globally. The real dynamics is we not only work within Colliers, but also outside Colliers as well, because we don't cover every city in the world, and we tend to go for the best player on the ground. But having said that, Colliers run on a decentralized and collaborative model. So when we export our client, we verify the strategy, we know what they want. Is it manufacturing, is it home buying, is it hotel or what, yeah? And we also help them to understand how to get the money approved to leave China. That's a very interesting point as well. We can take that offline. And within that, I guess we've already built up a culture within China among our own brokers and staff that we can help clients in various ways.
All right, now we're going to move away now from global reach and presence, but should you have any further questions, she's very open to further talks. Yes, so catch Tammy over lunch. I'm sure she will still be around, perhaps. But we're going to now talk about something that we brought up yesterday during the panel discussions, and that's ESG. Seth, this one is for you. Now, you're an expert in this. And I'm sure that the vast majority of our audience here, they're very familiar with ESG. But if you could kindly just tell us what it stands for, please, and what you at AIA are focused on achieving.
Right, so ESG is basically like a report card for corporate, right? And it's basically stands for environmental and social governance factor. So the investors, when they look at a company, they not only look at the company in a way on if they're making money or not, but they're also looking at in an angle saying that, okay, even though if they're making money, are they doing good for the world and are they being responsible, right? But for AIA, I mean, we're a very, very old company. We're like over 100 years old, right? But we're still hip. We're still in ESG, and we're still doing it. And we're serving people to live healthier, longer, better lives for so long. It's basically our legacy. And it's also our responsibility as an insurance group to help foster that type of initiative for the whole world as well. So we started checking our baseline in 2021. And in 2023, we are the first insurance company in Pan Asia to actually be certified from SBTI, which is basically science-based target initiatives, which is basically like a gold standard for ESG climate change reporting, right? And other than that, we also have over 30,000 employees which are trained for ESG. So I think 9 out of 10 employees in AIA are trained with ESG. And on top of that, we also make a commitment that every new building that AI is going to develop, it's going to be 100% green. So we'll be getting LEEDs, we're getting well certified and so on.
That's fantastic to hear. Very, very good to hear that you folks at AIA are very ESG focused. Staying with ESG, Mr. Hung, now I understand that Vietnam is very focused on growing, expanding, and having a green concept in mind, particularly ever since the outbreak, the pandemic. Can you please tell us more about the impact that has had on the development of Vietnam?
Yes.
Or in Vietnam?
So in Vietnam, we normally talk about ESG in the context of like industrial production or export. For the real estate market, it's still a new concept, and we talk more about the green concept, which is a small part of ESG only. But the COVID has really changed the way the real estate products have been developed in Vietnam over the past few years. So in the past, most of the consumers in Vietnam, when they buy the real estate, they focus more on like the economic factors, like the locations, the price, the yield, how much they get per year. And normally people focus on the location close to the cities where they can rent or convenient for the kids to go to school. But during the COVID and afterwards, things have changed, and we have a case of one very big developers in Vietnam called Eco Park. Some of you might have heard, or like they invested about 20 years for the green concept for big projects in the surrounding areas. And during the COVID time, probably they are one of the very few developers able to sell very quickly, and they have the demands for the product. So, and after the COVID, my company as a professional consultant in product development, we also focus on the green factors for the new projects, which we believe as a branding point, especially for the high-end segment. And we have observed that now the customers, they are willing to travel a little bit further, but they can balance between economic factors and how to live more safely and more healthily. And that's going to be the trend in Vietnam. And for the developers, now they realize that for the land, if they want to get a big land bank, it's normally not in the city areas, but how to build the project more profitably. That should be based on the green concept and the ESG, so they can sell higher price at the same time with the demand of the customers. So that's a good way. And we think the trend's going to happen more visibly in Vietnam in the future.
Okay, so that's great to hear as well, that there is now a trend to shift towards a greener, a healthier living lifestyle. Great to hear. Now, let me just check with the audience if there are any questions, whether it's or something to add to our conversation up here on stage, be it about referring to market trends, anything the speakers brought up, or perhaps ESG. Any questions? Then let's move on to innovation then. This one is now for you, Tammy. Now you're personally at the forefront when it comes to business innovation. If you can give us some insight into what you're doing differently, inspire the members of our audience here.
Right, I would think under a very challenging market situation in the last few years, that's the best time for innovation. And in a good time, people are busy making money and they don't have time to innovate because money comes easy. But in a bad time, then people start thinking, what can I do differently, right? So at Colliers, because we run on a very enterprising and entrepreneurial culture, country by country, we're encouraged to do something different. I would say apart from typical technology, sales and marketing, and all this adaptation of different technological tools, the real innovation comes from changing business models. And that's the hardest part, right? You can buy technology and use them. But then buying the technology, but having the brokers and consultants to start using technology and giving up their traditional way of working is impossible, right? It takes forever. So the real innovation comes from, normally the CEO will know, okay, this is the way to go, and we have to do that change. But then how do you cascade down to all the local offices, all the different teams to say, let's start doing something differently, right? So you really have to start from leading by example, right? You are the one doing it, and then you're actually micromanaging all the daily behavior so people start changing. So I would say, there's a lot of innovation we do. We're huge on social media within China because it worked. Whether we are 2B business or 2C business, there's only a fine line in between the both. We need more coverage to local markets and local entrepreneurs so we can help them globally. So on top of all that, the real dynamics, the real difficulty is how do you lead an organization to change? Mm-hmm. And I would say the real innovation is for me to change fast. And then micromanaging your daily behavior and activity and leading the brokers and the managers to change accordingly.
Okay, and what is this that I've been hearing, that you're rather active on social media? Please tell us.
So I have 500,000 followers on TikTok, the Chinese TikTok. We started 4 years ago during COVID because we need a new way of inspection. Because everything is locked down, we can't inspect the building. And for brokers, if you can't visit the building, you make no money, right? You can't transact. So we start using social media for live streaming. So apart differentiated by, different from using VRs and all the streaming tools, live stream is real. And then you interact immediately with your potential clients. So we start doing that, and we get to start 4 years ago was a mixture of views, right? Oh, this is for teenagers. Tell me you can't be doing that. And then obviously the views changed, and that was 4 years ago, right? The views changed to was, oh, it worked. Oh, we can do that too, and it's free, right?
And then giving Seth some ideas. He's sitting there attentively listening to you, and he's got this smile on his face. So please continue.
Right. There's good and bad, right? To start, my leadership wasn't really buying in until 6 months later they see the result. And then they start to learn, oh, can we do that here too, right? In different countries. So we start really coaching our counterparts. How does that work? When you're on live stream, what do you talk about? How do you avoid the sensitive words? How do you really show the property without being too boring? And how do you maximize your exposure and viewers by being professional and being social? That's a fine line too. If you talk like macroeconomics, supply, demand, no one's going to watch you, right? So is it being professional first or being social first? And how do you match that fine line between the two? Right. And so far we have shown real data to help our business locally. As a we share voice among the major medias in China, among our competition, Colliers owns 35%, which is huge, right? Wow. And then we're supported by a lot of fans who like us. And then our website traffic is triple. Wow. During the last 2 years. And WeChat, all these different social medias followers will triple within 2 years. And obviously, the journey continues.
All right, so that's really interesting to know. Jenny, are you going to start your own TikTok now after hearing that? But there you go, and it's very interesting that it didn't really work out at the beginning, but I guess you really have to persevere. So 6 months. I believe you can catch Tammy between 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Sundays, right? So yeah, perhaps we'll see you there. And don't forget to send in the comments. So that was really inspirational. Let's go over to you now, Jenny. Can you tell me some of the things that your members are doing to elevate their global presence? And can you give us insight into anything you have seen that you found, wow, that's really impressive?
I find Tammy very
Right,
impressive.
I do too. That's why I need to check her out in 2 days.
I deleted TikTok a while ago just because it was taking too much of my time.
Oh.
But I might be tempted to re-download it now just to watch. But yeah, I think one of the advantages really, and one of the most fortunate parts of being part of Leading RE is that when we work with a lot of independent brokerages, although they're part of our global organisation, they continue to operate independently and they continue to grow their brand in however they wish to grow it. So we get to see a lot of variation and a lot of different kind of insights, which then they can share their knowledge with other members and they can benefit from that, different ideas and inspiration, which is great. So for sure, I see a lot of impressive marketing campaigns and different styles. One that kind of comes to mind recently was our members in New Zealand, Barfoot and Thompson, which I'm quite certain they've won many awards here on this stage also. You know, last year they celebrated their 100-year anniversary operating as an independent, you know, family-owned business, which is such a huge, monumental achievement. And they went all out for a year. They had TV campaigns, you know, black tie gala events. And it was a real song and dance about how, you know, they were celebrating their 100 years. And we watched their campaign and thought it was absolutely fantastic. It also coincided with our 60-year birthday, which was great. So we did some joint celebrations. But we then asked them to share with the rest of our members, our APAC members, how they achieved this success of 100 years in business. When there's so many global competitors, how did they hold on to their independence and their brand? How did they plan and strategize for their centenarian campaign, which was so successful and brought them so much more business that will no doubt bring them through another 100 years? We created a special one-off webinar with all of our APAC members, and we brought Barfoot and Thompson on, and they gave a really interesting insight to that. So we have a lot of different styles to approaching for global marketing and elevating their global presence. We have a member in Japan who solely focuses on outbound business, so he acts as like a buyer representative. So he can't just sit back in Japan with his website and wait for his clients to come to him and tell him where they want to go. He needs to go and learn about these markets and tell his clients where he thinks that they should go, his Japanese buyers. He must live on an aeroplane. I don't know what his air miles must be, but by now he must have visited almost all of our members in all of our countries. He goes there, he goes to learn about the markets, he goes to familiarise himself with the companies, and it might sound timely and it might sound costly, but it pays off. He's already closed multiple six-figure deals this year, including a 2.65 million referral from Japan into, and it was a commercial sale to one of our real estate members in the US, where we have a huge presence. So you know, these kinds of, this activity to generate global connections really works. Now, as Leading RE, what we do to try and help and support them to do that is through the provision of, again, it goes back to our educational institute, which is very much focused on global outlook, sales and marketing skills. We have our webinars with the useful insights, the marketing materials, and we also have very strategically focused marketing programs and initiatives to help our members to win listings and grow their portfolio in a certain direction. So if we have a member who predominantly is focused or interested in building their luxury real estate listings and becoming a luxury real estate market, then we have our own Luxury Portfolio International, which is a platform and high quality magazine which is solely focused at properties over $1 million US. And we've got some amazing success stories that have come out of that. I mean, we had a client in Cleveland, Ohio. He had a beautiful stately home of $28 million US. It was out of this world, very unique property, and he wanted to do something special, or his broker wanted to do something special to promote this. So he spoke with the Luxury Portfolio team. They managed to secure him a PR feature in Wall Street Journal prior to it being live on the MLS sites. This feature was then spotted in Australia by an American expat who was living in Australia but thinking of relocating back to Ohio, where he was from. He spotted the listing in Wall Street Journal. He contacted his brother contacted the real estate company, our member in the US. They went and did a viewing and he bought the property. So it really is a global reach, and I think it's really just about putting your efforts into the right programs and directions that you want to focus on.
Jenny, you've seen so much, experienced so much, you're so well traveled, she comes with so many inspiring stories. You might want to stop and chit chat with her during the break. Thank you for sharing. Now, Mr. Hum, you also join us with